It was a really good tree planting weather we had out the Centennial Grove, but even the most avid gardeners sometimes get a little bit chilly also. So we've had the opportunity to come out now to Quality Plants and take a look at the things inside this nice warm greenhouse. And gee, these geraniums are just beautiful this time of the year. You know, Sue, I can remember when about our only choice of geraniums was some reds and some whites. But through the years, through hybridization and growing geraniums now from seed as well as from cuttings, we have such a wide variety of choices. For example, these hanging baskets that you're looking at, these are some of my favorites now.
Oh yeah, these are just beautiful. This is a Mexicana variety of ivy leaf geranium, and if you haven't ever tried ivy leaf geraniums, you should. They are beautiful in hanging baskets or in window boxes. Now they like a little bit cooler temperatures than we sometimes have in Oklahoma, so you might want to put them someplace where they'll just get maybe morning sun. The Mexicana is a two-tone variety and semi-double and just beautiful, but I want to show you some others too. We have one here called Amethyst, and it looks just like that gem, and this is a double flowering one. Beautiful, beautiful color. There's another variety called Cornell, which is in the Ivy League series, and it looks like amethyst but has a little bit deeper red in it.
I think some of my favorites we find here in the pots too, which is more like the standard geranium that we're familiar with, but yet of all the varieties of colors. This one is Aurora. I really do like Aurora, either in the 6-inch pot or the little 3-inch square pot that can go into the garden. I like those when we mix them with whites. This is just, in fact, this geranium variety is just called white, and they make a nice contrast in the garden.
It's a nice cooling effect too.
I think
white
so.
colors.
Mm-hmm. And then also we have a variety of different types of salmon, shades of salmon. This one is called Katy. It's a real interesting, but then I also really like this one. I think probably the salmon varieties, this one is my favorite because it has a little bit of a white tinge to it, and this one is called Sunbelt Salmon. These work so well not only in ground beds but also in planter boxes around a deck or patio where there's full sun.
Yeah, they're really nice. Also, make sure you keep your roots cool through the summertime, though. If they are in a container, it's a good idea to double container them. Put a smaller container into a larger one for insulation. Well, another hanging basket we want to show you is this variety. It's another in the Ivy League series called Yale, and it's just a deep, deep red, really pretty. If you want a little more of a crimson, there's one more here, and this one is called Red Mini Cascade. And it's really different looking. The foliage is smaller, it's more deeply lobed, and the flowers are a little more airy appearing than some of the other doubles that we looked at earlier. But if you want a range of red colors, looks like you have a lot to choose from.
Right. Speaking of reds, there's a lot of reds, not only in the hanging baskets but also in the potted geraniums. I hope you enjoy the geraniums because I know I'm going to this year, Sue, because I want to try a lot of these different colors. But now something that's really caught my eye are these hydrangeas over here. They're really beautiful, and I see Gary up here coming down. I'm going to go up talk to him about some of these hydrangeas and see what the story is on those.
Good. Maybe he can tell us how to grow them.
I'll let you take my geraniums.
Great.
Okay. Hi, Gary.
Hi.
Well, as usual, we've really enjoyed our tour around the greenhouse here. Sue and I have been impressed with your geraniums back there, but these hydrangeas really caught my eye. So tell me what you've got here. It looks like Easter is upon us.
Well, the Easter eggs are almost ripe here. The hydrangeas that we see in this greenhouse are scheduled for Easter, and we're approaching that holiday real soon. We have some different varieties available that the florists buy from us, and the indoor florists use the hydrangea like the Merit Supreme.
Is that what? And that's what this one is, the Merit Supreme.
We have grown other varieties. Rose Supreme's another variety, but this is a nice stockier plant, and it has strong branches.
Well, I noticed also that you have some Easter lilies in another part of the house. They're not showing quite as much color as these are now, but is the hydrangea getting to be as popular as the Easter lily?
I think so. More and more popular. It really brings a lot of color into the home at the Easter time.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed, speaking of color, these are primarily pink, but you've also got a little bit of difference in intensity, and some of them almost are bordering on a blue color. What's the deal on that?
Well, with the hydrangeas, we find that the acidity of the soil influences the color of the bloom. And if you grow a hydrangea in an alkaline situation, then you have a pink. If you grow it in an acidic situation, then it becomes a blue hydrangea. So the same plant could either have pink or blue flowers depending on its soil.
So these are really a difference in the soil pH is why we have some difference in color. on
Within
these.
this crop, they should have mostly all been pink, but some of them have a bluer cast to the pink, and that, for instance, this one, it has a little bit of bluer shade.
Yeah, when you put this one next to it, you can really see the difference in that, and that's just the difference in the pH of the soil mix.
This one is a little more acidic, and so it's got a little more blue in it. And that's an influence of aluminum available to the root system.
Yeah, I know that in outdoor geraniums, you can make them either pink or blue, depending on whether or not the soil pH makes the aluminum available.
Yeah, and then some people will use aluminum sulfate to put on the soil to help make their acidic situation in the soil there.
And conversely on that, if the hydrangeas are blue, or if your soil is already acidic and you want your hydrangeas out of doors to be pink, you can put lime on there to sweeten that soil, and that will make your hydrangeas pink. But I know hydrangeas out of doors are much different than these. In fact, as we get further south and east, they're more popular out of doors, although there are some that can be grown out of doors here too. But this is not an outside hydrangea.
You would find that this one grown outdoors may never bloom for the customer again, because through the winter time, the flower buds that are on the ends of the stems would be frozen back to the ground. So that next spring, they would just have a green shrub with no flowers. It would set flower buds during the summer, and then the next winter it may lose the flower buds again.
See, so the formation of these flower buds are different than those we grow outdoors.
Yes.
When did you start these?
Well, about January the 15th is when we began the growth of these, but they had a history before we received them. In California, they were treated in a cooler to give a cold vernalization to the plant so it would open the flower buds. But an outdoor azalea that does well in our area,
You mean hydrangea?
hydrangea,
I'm just kidding you.
yeah, will go to the freeze to the ground and come back again.
Now, we fudged just a little bit, and I asked you to bring in one that's typically is grown out of doors, just to show the difference in what it will look like this time of year. And this one has been outside
Yes.
where it's been growing.
Now, see, last year here were flower stalks, which should be cut off at this time. The flower stalks that were produced here will bloom and die back. Now, the secondary growth of this spring is coming in down in the lower parts, and this will set flower bud during the summer and bloom on this wood that's growing now. This one had to grow a whole year in the greenhouse to get its flower bud set.
So the story on this is then buy these, enjoy them as an indoor plant, but don't think you're going to have much success out of doors here in Oklahoma with these. But I recall as a boy growing up in southeast Oklahoma, the hydrangeas were just beautiful down there in the late summer or late spring and early summer because of the milder temperature, but they were also the out-of-door hydrangeas.
Yeah.
Gary, as I was coming up, I also noticed you had a large bed down there of hydrangeas that weren't really out yet at all. What's
This
story
is
on
the same
these?
variety that we've been noticing here, but this is a time for Mother's Day rather than for Easter. Mother's Day, the hydrangea has been a real popular plant for many years, and these are staged so that they are going to flower the week before Mother's Day to be sold during that week.
And you can pretty well control these through when you get the cutting started and through your temperature and and your other cultural practices.
When we begin forcing, it takes 90 to 110 days to the day of blooming for us to schedule that plant. So we back up from Mother's Day and know which day we need to transplant into the greenhouse.
And then you can gauge it by what the size of the bud is at certain stages.
Today, we find that the crop that's scheduled for Mother's Day, the buds are only the size of quarters, and we can look into our schedule and see if they are up to par. We will find if they're a little bit tight, we can raise the temperature of the greenhouse, and that will speed them up. And if they get a little bit of too far ahead, then we can slow them down by lowering the temperature.
See. Well, Gary, we have about a minute or so left. quickly, would you run through some of the care tips that
Well-
a homeowner might think about if they were going to use these as an indoor plant?
We get some calls, and I think that one of the main things that people find is that they receive a beautiful hydrangea, and then in a day it begins to wilt and kind of fall apart. These plants take a lot of water, so if you find your plant wilting, you're not watering it enough, and you may want to set it in a dish of water to really get the water to the root system and let it perk up, then let it drain, and then set it back into your home where you'd like to enjoy looking at it. But I would say watering on a daily to every 2-day basis to really be on top of it.
Not let it really wilt down and go into
We'll
stress. 'cause
start
it might
having
cause
some
this foliage to fire a
problems.
little bit.
Yeah, or the leaves may drop.
Yeah. And then on light,
Well, I like to
well-lit
keep
place.
it in a medium light situation or medium to bright. It's not a real good plant for the bright west sun, so you want to keep it a moderate.
well, Gary, once again, we really appreciate coming out. We always learn so much and enjoy the hospitality you show us out at Quality Plants here.
You're welcome.
And also enjoy looking at all your plants. And you got a beautiful display of hydrangeas.
Sea
this
of
year.
pink
A sea of
today.
pink, right. Thanks again, Gary.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.